Mind you, all four of us are talking shit right now because I'm triggered.
Yeah.
So my future client is eating my food.
I literally go to Kartik. I'm like, Kartik, don't get triggered, but just look a little bit where you're sitting. And as soon as this guy saw, all I could see was just his face just turning towards me. Like he's just taking photos, whatever. And then he just looks at it and he goes to me. No fucking way.
Hi, welcome to the Cameramen Show. My name's Kartik.
I'm Manav.
And in this podcast, we talk about all things cameras, weddings, and business. Now, today's episode
It's an interesting one.
Is an interesting one.
Yep.
And I'm already triggered.
And yeah, I was going to say something that triggers you a lot.
I get triggered so much by this.
Yep.
And I think if photographers tuning into this, you will also hopefully probably get triggered as well.
Yeah.
But if you're a bride and groom, you're probably confused because you'd be like, well, what's the big deal? But I'm going to tell you it's a big deal because this shit is inhumane and it is sad and it happens all the time. And we're going to talk about whether we believe photographers should get food at a wedding or a reception.
I think to start this off, we want to look at that story that came up a while ago. Which
so there was a viral,
yeah,
that's a good point. So there's a viral story that has gone around the table.
Yeah.
And it's basically a photographer who deleted a whole bunch of wedding photos because they were denied food at a wedding. I'll read the article. A photographer went viral last month for deleting all wedding photos after being denied food, water, and a 20-minute break. The photographer is not a wedding photographer, but a dog groomer and a former friend of the newlyweds. The couple hired the photographer for only $250. He gained his not-so-professional photography experience from taking pictures of his dog, where he showcases them on his Facebook and Instagram pages. He claimed that he was supposed to be working from 11 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. The food was served at 5 p.m. He was told that he could not sit down and eat because he had to continue being the photographer. He even mentions that he did not have a seat at the table.
So not only you're not getting food, you're only getting paid like $250 to be there.
There's so many things wrong with this.
And apparently you're a friend of the couple as well.
Yep. And your only portfolio are photos of dogs.
Now, first of all, like this is 100% on the couple. Like, why are you hiring?
100%.
Why are you hiring? Why are you hiring someone who's taking photos of dogs to shoot your wedding?
Where
right?
is the overlap? Tell me.
Yeah, and let's say even if you've gone past that and now you've hired him, like the least you can do them, even as a friend. Like, forget about you as a photographer. Apparently, this guy's a friend of the couple. Why would you not give your friends food at the wedding?
It's even worse because they're friends.
Yeah.
As a vendor, I can understand because obviously this has happened to us in the past before. But as a mate, you would automatically assume, oh, well, you're getting food to all your guests.
Yeah.
So am I not only, well, technically you're working, but I'm a mate at the end of the day anyways.
Yeah.
So you would assume you'd get food somewhat there at least to begin with.
Yeah.
But turns out this is a recurring issue. And there are stories that we have personally that we can share with you guys.
Yeah, actually, I want to share an SMS that I actually got from a friend recently.
Okay.
And this is another wedding photographer I know in the
community.
In the community, and he's been shooting weddings for a long time. You know, longer than I have, right? And I want to read this SMS out to you because this is what happened with him recently.
Okay.
And then you can let me what you think.
Go
right?
for it.
So the SMS says, "So guess what happened this weekend? I was shooting a wedding and the bride literally goes to me that you're not allowed to eat and you're here to work." straight off the bat.
Oh, so triggered right now.
Straight off the bat, right?
Fucking come at me.
Straight off the bat. Mind you, this is off the back of shooting a 10-hour day.
Right.
Insane heat, early start time and barely any breaks in between, right?
What is this fucking like slavery?
I don't know, man. And then he goes, so then I told the bride that I hadn't had anything to eat since this morning, to which she responded by saying that unfortunately, that's not what I paid you to do. I see smoke coming at you.
I think
This is not the end. Let me,
Okay, all right.
You should have brought snacks on the day with you.
Uncle Toby.
Right? If you go and eat, you're going to miss the moments we have for the reception. Like what we paid you. She's basically saying if you go and eat, you're going to miss
You're going to miss things, yeah.
Yeah. Miss what? Are other people eating?
Which is so important because we spend so much money on the food.
Like, are we supposed to photograph other people eating?
Yes.
Like, there's surely a break there in the reception.
Nah.
Like, seriously.
Oh, we want food shots.
But yeah,
that's
that's the SMS that I got from a friend.
I've got so much to say about this because it does sound a little bit inhumane, first of all. Also, we are vendors, so I'm pretty sure I am biased in my entire approach with this entire segment. But in this episode, I think we'll break it down to you as to why this does bother me, and I think you too, by extension. I don't even know what that photographer said in response to that. Like, that's on the day. Like,
what can you say?
Well,
right?
I'm not going to get into tension with my couple, so I'd probably be like, okay.
I would just be like, I would be annoyed, but obviously,
I'd
like,
be shitty.
At the same time, you got to understand, like, it's their wedding day. And I would just generally be like, whatever, just suck it up. Because this is very rare that this would happen. And if it does happen very rarely, then I'd be like, it is what it is. Like,
The food thing bothers me because, like, we do bride prep in the morning, right? Then we go straight to the venue. We do the wedding ceremony, post-wedding photo shoot. Then from the post-wedding photo shoot, if it's a full day wedding and reception, then, the couples then go to the reception venue. Then,
mind you, we normally don't ever get time to eat during the ceremony or post-wedding ceremony because it's all back to back. So the only time you're going to get to eat or like have dinner at least is the reception. And I understand the fact that they're saying, bring snacks, which I would say you should probably take like a protein bar with you or whatever anyway while you're shooting a long day. So you can at least like, have something every couple of hours to eat just to get some energy. But your main food is the only time you're going to eat that is at the reception.
I think my entire point around this is like, if you're smart about how the itinerary for the reception is going to be, like when the guests are eating, what do you expect we would capture at that point is the question. That's number one. But I know you and I have been in situations where when the guests are eating, sometimes they'll do speeches, right? Sometimes they'll have like an item or a performance or something going on. And it's very common in that time where we are in those situations, how we manage that. Because yes, like capturing speeches are important. And as photographers and videographers, you should and have to do that. But I think it also comes down to how the actual like event is going. So for instance, say like, there's an hour and a half dedicated to dinner and nothing is scheduled for that time. Bruh, give me food.
To be honest, even if there is, like normally if during that hour and a half, the only other thing I can think of that could be scheduled is like the couple want to go around with tables and take photos with all the guests, right?
Correct.
Even if that is scheduled, usually when we shoot weddings, we have two photographers.
Correct.
Or two videographers.
Correct.
You can easily rotate. Like one person can go eat while the other person is taking photos.
Yeah.
And I understand there might be a certain instances where and I do know a lot of photographers that shoot solo on their own. They don't have a second shooter for receptions. And I understand you might have to do that, but surely you can get like a 5 or 10 minute break. Like even the couple wants to eat, right? There's going to be a time when the couple needs to eat.
Hang on, I've actually had couples go to me, we don't have time to eat, we just want to get straight into it. And in my mind, I'm like, bro, don't do that shit, because like it impacts us obviously, but it'll impact you guys. You guys will be exhausted. Don't you want to have like a moment just to sit down, try the food that you guys have probably paid a lot of money for, and actually just sit there and eat that shit? Like,
you know what? No, you know what they'll do instead? They'll start eating when the main speech starts. So all you hear is like, ching,
like
ding, 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 in the background.
Like table, like cutlery, hitting tables and shit. Yeah.
And mind you, that's the worst idea. If you're listening to this and you want to schedule speeches during your reception, please don't put like any important speech, like for example your parents' speech or your own speech, while the dinner is being served or while the entrees are being served. Like all you hear in the back is just like, cutlery noises. And there's so many times when we've literally like looked, we've been through this, and every time we look at a couple's face while this is happening, the couple are like clearly annoyed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like there's so many times when I see the brides just being pissed off because they feel like no one's paying attention because it's just too loud.
It's too loud, but also like, think about it when you're at dinner normally and you're like a normal reception venue will have like maybe 10 chairs per table, something around that on average. And first of all, you factor in that people are eating, so you get clitter clatter and all that shit. Then you get people just being like, "Oh, hey, can you pass the this? Can you do that? Can you give me the salt? Whatever it is." So you have a conversation going on. Then the bigger the venue and the bigger the number of guests, the more like talkative everyone's going to be. So would you not rather go, "Hey, let's just allocate this much time for food," because then after that we'll grab people's attention to come back down and actually pay attention to things that actually matter to us. I think what couples try and do is they go, we have this venue for 6 hours. We need to maximize it because we want to hit the dance floor and have so much fun. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but just understand that not only impacts your vendors, but also impacts you guys. And if you want to have like a seamless experience, think about the logistics of what that actually looks like. Think about if we want people to actually pay attention to something that's so important to us, something that we've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on. something that I know when I'm having a speech from my dad or my mum that means so much to me that I want my guests to also understand why that is, that they have to sort of allocate a bit of time to go, you know what, is it really worth using that same hour to kill two birds with one stone and serve dinner at the same time? The other point that I have to this is, I've just mentioned to you that wedding photography, 10-hour days, 16-hour days if you're doing wedding and reception. So you mean to tell me that during an 8-hour day for a corporate worker who works from 9 to 5,
which is like a 9 to 5,
which is a 9 to 5.
Now imagine you are a corporate worker and you have to go into your 9 to 5 job, and the company that you work for is like, sorry, you don't get a lunch break. Or you get literally no breaks. You have to work.
Fuck yourself.
Imagine, like, and I totally understand having a corporate job is not the same as having a wedding, because obviously weddings are like a one-off time events and you can't miss certain things, right? So obviously it's not like you can take an hour out in the middle of the wedding or whatever, right? But it's all about just like doing things in a smart way where you allocate like 10-15 minutes for your photographer and yourself to eat as a couple. Or if you have multiple photographers, then you like be like, all right, you guys can rotate. But mind you, this is not even the issue here. The issue is that the client didn't even want to give a food to the couple at all.
It's worse.
Like, we're talking about, okay, so how to do this in a smarter way. This bride is like, sorry,
you don't get shit.
You're not going to get any food. You're here to work. That's all you're here to do. You're not here to eat.
When I started my contract earlier on in like my first couple of years, or maybe the first 2 years, I suppose, I know that I had a reference contract to base my contract on. And this was from a photographer who's been doing this in the industry for years, and I think they've released their contract online to go like, this is what the standard should be. And of course, they've got some really good things in there, like, you know, terms and conditions and outline work hours and deliverables. That's really important. In one of their clauses, it specifically stated that the team or myself or whoever's present from the studio that represents, you know, the wedding day has to be given a table with food, an allocated time.
That's very normal. Even I have that in my contract.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I actually didn't know that. And I thought at that time, what fucking pretentious little shit does that? Like, who the fuck do you think?
Because you don't know any better because you're a new photographer.
I'm thinking and like, bro, how dare you? Like, that's the wedding. Like, that's the couple. Like, I was full on the couple side here. Anyways, I grew up after a few weddings when I went to them.
When you didn't get food yourself.
And I'm like, fuck, that's a genius thing.
Yeah.
And automatically I then realized this is why they have them.
Yeah.
And so I've now started to put it in my contracts as well. And so I've been brought up, and I don't know about you, but I've been brought up on a few, maybe like 2 out of every 10 times where couples go to me, hey, look, we'll be honest with you, we've read your contract. There's just the dinner table clause, let's call it that. We just want to go over. It says here that a table has to be provided for you with food. I'll be honest with you, Kartik, like, we have a particular head count that we have to cater for, and we are on a bit of a budget. What could you do around that? And I've been put on the spot. Now,
look, honestly, it's fine. You don't really have to have a table. I think the main thing is just food, right? Because a lot of venues that we go to, we do not get tables, but they'll have like a separate lobby or something, or like a separate back room where they can just give staff food.
This was even worse. Yeah. This was even worse. So I said to the bride and groom, I'm like, look, if you can't provide food, let alone a table, if you can't provide food, that's okay. I'm not going to bite your head off. Like, that's okay. But give me time that I can take half an hour out of the 16-hour day that I was working for that day to go and get something to eat, to have a meal and sit down and just actually rest for a little bit. Because think about it. Would you want your photographer, first of all, to be A, starving, B, like low on energy, low on like their enthusiasm? This, mind you, and I've always stayed by this, your photographer has to be the most energetic person in the room. Like, I fully agree that is the case. How the hell do you expect anyone, bro, to like freaking like operate normally when you know that they've not even eaten anything? Yeah. So I said to the bride and groom, I'm like, that's okay. If you can't give me food, then I'm just going to take half an hour out of time where I feel like it's appropriate.
Very reasonable.
Very reasonable.
Very reasonable. Out of 16-hour day.
And as I said that, she said, oh, no. We'll give you something to eat.
Yeah.
And I'm
because
like,
they know that
so
the alternative is the photographer leaving in the middle of the reception to go get Macca's for half an hour.
Bruh, I think there was a DJ, I think you know this story too, who couldn't get food I don't know if it was a reception or a Sangeet for like an Indian dance night, and they ordered Domino's pizza.
And it came in the box. And imagine how bad that looks.
And it looked proper bad. Yeah. Like, mind you, it's like
all the guests were just like,
all the guests can see there's a guy from Domino's walking in
delivering a pizza
and hands it to the DJ. Hands it to the DJ. The DJ's like, thanks. Opens it up, starts having a slice in front of everyone.
Yeah.
But he knows. He's like, well, fuck these people. I never got food, so I'm just going to get food delivered to me.
Yeah.
And if I can't go because I'm the DJ, which is true, by the way, the DJ has to always be there. Photographers, let's just assume there's two of us. At least one of us can stay. The other one can go and eat. But a DJ typically has only one person.
Yeah.
So if they can't get food, what the F do they do?
Yeah.
He had it in all his right to go and order
I mean, I would
Domino's.
probably never do that because that's just
look, that's a bit ballsy.
I would, yeah, that's a bit
It's a bit
slack,
ballsy,
to be honest.
but
at the same time, I do fully understand.
it.
The DJ's point of
Fully
view as well.
understand it.
Yeah,
But this is why I've realized in contracts,
Yeah.
it comes up because photographers need to have a bit of a break and they need to be like, I just need 15 to half an hour to myself in a time where that's appropriate for you guys that I can just get my meal. Now, I get it. If I had to look at as a perspective of, say, the couple, we're spending $10,000 plus upwards for photo video, and now we have to cater for their food. That's like the opposing view to this entire conversation. And yes, it is probably already out of the budget. You're already probably stretched financially. But you know what I talked about in the last episode, like, you know, wearing the business hat or wearing the human hat. Right? Like, what hat do you want to wear? Do you want to wear the person do you want to be the hat that you wear? It's like, well, no, financially, like, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Sorry. Or do you want to wear the hat that, like, look, okay, it is financially outside of our budget, but hey, like, people's got to eat. They're also working, so we want to keep our vendors happy. Like, what human being do you want to be? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but at the same time, like, I get it, you saying that, oh, they've spent like this amount of money on the photographer. Why do we also have to provide them food? But then if that's the thing going forward, then we would just have to raise the prices of our contracts to include that in there.
Yeah. I mean, that's the alternative.
Yeah.
That could be the alternative.
And then
like,
the couple doesn't know. I'd rather be more transparent to the couple and be like, hey, this is how much I charge.
I mean, realistically,
you need to provide food as well.
Realistically, okay, say for instance, the food budget is a problem here and they can't, like, you know, they just do not have the financial capacity to pay for another head at a table. Okay, cool. But then I refer to the point we made earlier. Give us time so we can go and eat.
Yeah.
And if you don't want us to leave...
at least, like, I'm not saying, like, you pay for my McDonald's or something. Like, I'm not going to go down that regard.
But like, hey, here's my Macca's bill as well.
I'll go pay for my food, but we need, like, a half an hour, 45 minutes in between where we can go, eat, and then come back.
There's also a difference here, and I think this is something to note, because as South Asian wedding photographers, we see this a lot, where buffet service versus table service. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, for a lot of Western weddings that I think we see, it's very common for food to be served at the table. And that's usually at an expense per head.
Yeah.
Whereas, and I'm not saying per head also isn't accounted to in buffet service, but it's a lot easier to do that than it is food served at a table.
I mean, definitely might be easier, but I think from memory, you've had some wonderful experiences with table service.
Okay, so
you know what I'm talking about right now. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I think my BP's rising right now. I will share a story where I would deliberately not put out any names, no venue stories, nothing.
I mean, we don't want to get sued, so that's a good idea.
We don't want to
anyway,
get cancelled.
but yeah.
I have to put it out there. So I'm at a reception, shooting a bride and groom's reception, and at that reception, there is my future client that's going to be sitting there. That's actually.
Oh, you've already booked this client.
I've already booked this client.
And their wedding's in X amount of months.
And their wedding's in like 6 to 8 months later.
Yeah,
Doesn't really matter. But they're there. And I'm like, oh, okay, hey, it's good to see you. And so someone that is all big on, like, you know, building rapport and having a great relationship with your clients, I'm all for it. But instead of having a vendor table, which a lot of receptions usually have, we now have to share tables with guests, which is very odd.
I think it was like those long tables,
It was
right?
one of those long tables. So
Yeah,
there
it
was
wasn't round tables.
No, there was
Yeah.
specifically 4 long aisles. There was
Yeah.
specifically 4 long aisles, like 1, 2, 3, 4. And out of a team of, I think, 4 shooters that I had on the day, I remember.
I think I was there doing video.
You were one of them.
Doing
I was doing photos.
Now, normally we would get a round table,
We'd
but
have a
in
round
this
table.
instance, they normally sit us like at the end of each
Correct.
tour
Correct.
table, where you're sitting next to basically like someone else.
Correct.
Not next to the team, yeah.
And I'm now going, well, okay, it is what it is, but there's a spare table, a spare seat next to that bride and groom that I bumped into. So I'm like, well, may as well, right? Like, I have a relationship with them. They seem friendly, and of course, I'm going to talk to my future clients. So we sit down and, you know, take a seat. I'm like, oh, hey, how's it going, guys? How you been? What's been happening? And we just get into a light conversation, blah, 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 blah. Nothing happens. And then waiters come out with food. And now it's pasta. And it looked pretty decent, right? So food comes down, everyone's, you know, being seated, and then the waiters come out with all the food, and it lands right in front of me. And I look at it and I'm salivating. I'm like, it looks proper, right? I pick up the fork, I dig it into the bowl. Just as I'm about to take a bite, speeches start, which refers back to the point that I made earlier about just like, please just be mindful about all this stuff. Now, again, it is what it is because there's 4 of us, but all of us all had to work. And I think some of us started eating whilst with other.
I think two of
the people from the
our
team.
second shooters were eating.
And then
we both got
and I
up
were
and started
capturing.
capturing.
So that was fine.
Yeah.
But I left my meal there.
Yeah.
I left my meal there because I'm like, I'll come back to it.
Yeah.
I'm getting triggered. So then the speeches start. We capture the speeches. And like, oh, thank you, Dad. Thank you, Mum. Blah, blah, blah. All of that stuff. And I see from the peripheries, just the corner of my eye.
No. You didn't say. I told you. Remember?
Oh, you told me this. Yeah.
I was like doing like a guest reaction.
I was venting to you because I was, bro,
Yeah,
I really want to eat my food. I'm so hungry.
I was doing guest reactions with like a 70-200 or something.
Yes.
And I just tend to pan in her direction
Yeah,
where the bride was sitting.
The bride was sitting next to where I was seated,
and
correct.
All I literally see, right? And if you're, I'm gonna do this on camera, but if you're listening to the audio, right? Basically, imagine her just eating here, right? Eating out of nowhere. She just looks around a little bit. And then she's just like...
It's like so discreet.
It's basically
she's trying to be so discreet,
taking stuff from your plate
and
putting it in her mouth.
But she knows she's doing it.
Yeah,
she knows she's doing it.
This is after she has already finished her food.
Oh yeah. Which makes it even worse. So she's on a carb loading diet. Must be like she's like I'm bulk nation right now.
Yeah,
she's gone. I've got a plate full of pasta.
She's had a full plate of pasta.
She's finished mine.
Yeah,
she's finished hers. Then she goes to start eating from mine.
Yeah.
Now. When you're telling me about we're wearing headsets, by the way.
Yeah.
So the worst problem about this,
I literally,
the worst problem about this is that because we're wearing headsets, it's so easy for us to communicate. Mind you, all 4 of us are talking shit right now because I'm triggered.
Yeah.
So my future client is eating my food.
I literally go to Kartik. I'm like, Kartik, don't get triggered, but just look a little bit where you're sitting. And as soon as this guy saw. All I could see was just his face just turning towards me. Like he's just taking photos, whatever. And then he just looks at it and he goes to me. No fucking way.
Bro, I was so triggered.
You were so...
I was like,
at this point, like, okay, when we sat to eat, like, I've had a couple of bites, right? So I'm not like starving.
You're not starving.
And I'm just cracking up at this point. I'm just like laughing at this guy's expense.
We had to talk about this in silence because speeches were going on.
Yeah.
And we couldn't freaking be loud or anything. And we were like, what the fuck is going on? Some bitch is eating my food. Like, what the fuck is going on? Anyways.
I go, I think your future bride... Your future bride just ate your food.
And I'm trying, so she can't see me, but I'm looking at her from like behind or kind of and I realized that my plate, which was once filled with pasta, is now half filled with pasta. And I need to do something before it's completely gone.
Yeah.
And so speeches are now finished at this point. And I'm like, I've now noticed my food's completely empty.
And she ate the whole thing.
She ate the whole thing.
God damn.
First of all, bro, you can eat if you can eat.
And surely she knew that was your food.
Like, okay, bro, it's like I'm sitting there.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there. And not only that, but I had a conversation with you as the food was dropped there. And in my mind, I'm like, you just know. You must just surely know that the food is it's like right in front of someone. That plate belongs to that person. Are you fucking stupid?
What do you think is her justification? Do you think she thinks that you're not coming back and they're just going to take the food away? And so might as well eat it? Like, do you think that's what she thought? Or
you have to be a bloody cow to assume that justifies that behavior.
Yeah.
Well, cows eat shit, so you must eat a lot like a cow.
Wow.
You have to be a cow to assume that behavior was normal.
Okay.
And she's a cow. I'm sorry, but she's a cow.
Triggered.
I'm so triggered right now because I know she's my client. But you just don't do that to another person. Forget being a client here. You don't eat someone else's food. Not only that, you don't eat someone's food who you know is actually working on the day, which makes it even more worse.
Yeah.
The fact that she's my client just adds fuel to the fire.
And she was there during the wedding ceremony. She knows you've been working for 10 hours, 12 hours.
We had jokes. We laughed about it. We were like, oh, so good to see you. Oh my God, you're working so hard. Can't wait for our wedding. Like, she was proper excited. In my mind, I'm like, this is mad.
Yeah.
I get to see you and build a bit more rapport. Happy days. But when you start eating my food, I get triggered. So then,
What did you do?
I go back to my table.
Oh, did you tell her?
I go back to my table because obviously we've talked about what the fuck just happened. We know what's happened. And I said, oh, where'd my food go? And I said, I'm dying.
Oh, this is so awkward.
I said, where'd my food go?
To her?
Yeah, to everyone. So there's people in front of me. There's people beside me. By people, I mean her and her partner.
Yeah,
my future clients. And I'm like, oh, where'd my food go? And she said, I think the waiter just took it back.
Oh, damn.
And bro, I was like, I had a moment. And I could have been like, you're lying to me.
Yeah.
You're lying to me, you bloody cow. I know they didn't take it back. You ate my food.
Yeah.
But I didn't because I was a little bitch.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, is it so?
Yeah, but at that time, obviously, you can't really like.
No, I looked at her and I'm like, oh, really?
Yeah.
And I just looked at her as if I'm like, I know what you did. I know what you did.
Think about this, like eating someone's food is messed up in itself. But then on top, instead of being like, oh shit, so sorry, like I didn't know you were coming back, accidentally ate your food. Even that could have been at least better than being like.
I would have gone, you know what? Own up to it. You fucked up. Then just be honest about it. You can try and give an excuse, but you fucked up.
Yeah.
The fact that you lied blatantly to my face makes it all the more worse. I'm scarred. I think I'm scarred now. Like, I probably need to go to therapy for that shit. That's how bad that story was.
I hope you ate her food during her wedding.
That I should have. No, I didn't.
Kanye moment. You just walked up.
Mind you, and this is a side story for another time, but that client on her wedding ended up giving me problems as well.
Okay.
Red flag client. We can talk about this on another podcast episode.
Yeah. Also, like, what do you think is like a specific, you know how we have like 16-hour days or like 12-hour days? When do you think it's okay for a bride or a groom to be like, no, we're not giving you food? Like, how short does the event have to be? Like, personally, I think like around 4 hours or less, we don't really need food.
I think that's an interesting point.
Yeah. Because
would I expect to be given like this whole food service, like, you know, being allowed to eat if it was 4 hours? Although I would like it, would I be, if it didn't happen, would I be okay with that? Yeah. I'd be okay.
Like a lot of times you shoot like sangeets and stuff in the evening that are like, you know, from like 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. whatever. I don't really expect to get
sangeets for those who aren't South Asian photographers. They're like Indian partying events basically, where there is actually a lot of food, but
although that's the event that turns out to be where you actually eat all the time anyway. Yeah.
But no, to add on to that, there are smaller events like we do haldi ceremonies, and again, for those who aren't South Asian wedding photographers, haldi ceremonies are like a turmeric paste that goes on the bride and groom. Typically, event lasts 2 hours. Now, you mean to tell me in the 2 hours contractually you want couples to give you food?
I don't care. Yeah. Like, and I think the food issue is only more about like long days. I think anything over 5 or 6 hours, once it gets to that point, you should supply your vendors with food.
There has to be a rule of thumb here. Like, I don't expect this level of treatment for anything less than 4 hours or 4 hours, right? But anything greater than 5 or 6, or when I've been working 10 or 16-hour days,
definitely on the days where you have like wedding and reception on the same day. Like, but a lot of times we will do like wedding and reception on separate days, right? Which is like reception by itself. I would still say like you should give your vendors food, even if it's like a 6-hour event or whatever.
And this is also part and parcel as to why I think sometimes, depending on the ethnicity, could determine whether you get food. And what I mean by that is South Asians or even like European or Middle Eastern European weddings, any form of Asian cultures, I think they're actually quite hospitable. And what I mean by that is that I've literally had bride and groom's parents, or even the bride and groom, come up to me like, it will offend us if you do not eat anything. And I think there's a representation here where some cultural families, some ethnic families are very big on hospitality, where we know we've paid you thousands of dollars to be here as a vendor to work for us. I get it. But there are some families who are very hospitable, and I'm not saying all South Asians are, but I've just typically known that most South Asian families are very big on people who are attending, albeit someone as a guest or albeit someone as a worker, to eat food before they leave.
100%. I get it all the time as well. Like, parents will be like asking me like 3, 4, 5 times, hey, have you eaten? Like, which is like the majority of interactions are like that. Like
Quite literally.
usually, like, and the ones we're talking about where all this, like, mess up starts happening, that's very rare. First of all, like, I'd say, like, maybe not even 1 out of 10, maybe 1 out of 20 weddings is ones we go to where we actually don't get food, right? But there has been some like messed up instances, like the ones we talked about, where the bride's like, "Sorry, you're here to work. You're not here to eat."
And I think there also comes a disadvantage to this because, and I think I've talked about this to you off this podcast before, but there are some couples who spend a lot of money on food, and part of us eating or not eating, I don't know if this is directly referred to it, but they're like, we need this captured as well. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's a subcontext of this story where the food is so important to us. We want you to capture it, and then you can eat it, or something. A lot of
like the type of weddings we capture, like Southeast Asian. Obviously, as you said, they spend a lot of money on food, right? So I get it. I normally get like food shots anyway. Not people eating food.
I can guarantee you there are some photographers listening into this.
Yeah,
you'll be like, "What the fuck?
Like, are you guys talking about food shots?" Yeah, but a lot of like, this is more like parents.
Yeah,
they expect to just, like, for example, in the full length video that we provide for the wedding, they expect to just see like a setup of all the food.
Correct. Yeah, correct. But after we've taken all of that, they're like, "Oh, but please also, like, make sure you eat something."
Yeah.
And they'll just squeeze that in there, which I appreciate. But you'll see the difference here between buffet service and table service. Because if it's buffet service, bruh, like, no one gives a shit. Just take a plate for yourself. I even, in fact, unfortunately, jump the line and just get in, get my food, and then leave.
And most people are usually okay with that as well, because they know you've been working all the time. They'll be like, "Oh, just come stand in front of us."
They'll be like, "You have to work, so please, like, just jump in, take what you need, and then just go." The other etiquette that I appreciate around this, or actually no, I don't appreciate around this. Sorry, I take that back. And I just thought of it is when, okay, we can eat, and we can be given a table, but it's 500 meters away in a separate room.
Yeah.
Now, I don't mind.
I mean,
that.
I don't think it's going to be 500 meters away.
Okay, maybe not 500 meters. That's half a kilometer.
No one's walking half a kilometer to go to eat.
All right, fine.
To sit at a table. Yeah.
But it's outside the venue.
Yeah.
And it's at a different area. Now, what are your thoughts on that, first of all?
I personally don't mind it. The only issue that I have with that is if something happens inside, we're not going to know.
Correct.
We're not going to know if,
Correct.
like, for example, you're eating and the speeches or whatever started inside. How are you supposed to know, right?
Correct. You don't.
Yeah.
Unless you hear it.
Like, I don't mind the idea of us sitting outside the venue. I don't really care where I sit as long as we, like, we got dinner or whatever. But yeah, I do think, like, it's a bit weird when, like, you're in a closed off room. You literally can't hear anything that's going on inside of the room. And then something starts, and if you end up missing it, it's on us. It's not like the person's fault. Yeah.
Speaking of sitting outside the venue, I've got a story that I think relates to food. That would be a really great way to end this segment. But this happened about 4 years ago now. And the fact that I very clearly remember it to the T just goes to show how much I'm still traumatized by this.
Yeah.
Notice how all these stories are related to food for me?
Yeah.
I don't know if for you personally, but I'm very particular about this shit.
Oh, yeah.
So 300 people event, and it was at a venue in Sydney. Won't drop any names, but they had a choice between going for the bigger venue and the smaller venue, and they went for the smaller venue to save costs. Nothing wrong with that, by the way.
Oh, as in like a smaller room.
Smaller room.
In the same venue.
In the same venue.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Both available,
okay.
But they want the smaller room.
So we're talking about a venue that has multiple rooms.
Correct.
And they, instead of going for like a big ballroom, they've gone for like a smaller one. Fair enough. Yep. Whatever. It is what it is.
One would assume if you're having 300 guests, put them in the freaking big venue, right? Like, just makes freaking sense.
Yeah.
But
obviously budget constraints or whatever.
It is what it is. Who am I to say what the fuck's wrong with you guys? It is what it is.
Yeah.
Gets to a point where, like, you know when they have even walk downs and shit where couples are like walking down the aisle or like walking through the tables? It's weird because they're in some mongulated trail to get to the actual dance floor. And it's weird because sometimes it's just a straight like trail to get from the door to the vent, like to the center of this, like the dance floor.
Yep. So it's just super tight,
it's
basically.
Super tight, but because
there's
tables everywhere,
around,
they've fucked up the entire aisle and now the couples have to go in and out. It's just weird. It's just proper shit.
Yeah.
Food gets served and we're like, okay, well, we're also four of us again, right? None of us have eaten, and we can't even take turns because we don't even have anywhere to sit, let alone eat. For half an hour, this goes on where we can't eat anything, and there's no speeches, so it makes sense for us to actually go eat. And I felt so like conscious because it's a bit embarrassing. I don't know if it's embarrassing, but sometimes I feel like couples get a bit conscious where like we'll go up to them, be like, "Oh, hey, sorry, did you happen to like leave any food for us or like organize a table?" That's a bit weird. I try not to have that conversation. But so I'm asking the general manager, I'm asking like the head coordinator, I'm asking the planner, random people I can find. And then someone comes back to me saying, okay, we'll organize something for you. And I'm like, okay, great. I have no idea what's going on, but I know something's being organized. 5 minutes later, I see staff like just gathering outside and moving a table outside the venue. And the problem with this particular venue is it has windows everywhere. So,
so you can see outside?
You can see everything. Okay. And it's bad because where they put the table is directly outside behind where the bride and groom are sitting.
Okay.
And all you see behind them is like staff setting up tables of like, you know, people organizing food for the cameraman crew to eat.
Yeah.
And it's bad because like you can fully see through from the venue.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, okay, well, look, this is the best.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah,
so I told the boys, I'm like, look, we've got a bit of time. Let's just eat. Food comes and it's just Indian food, of course. So it's all great and well. And they put it down on the table and, you know, I'm there. Like my shooters are there. We're all there. In fact, the DJ even comes and joins. So there's like several of us. We sit down, we actually start eating now. And I'm like, okay, cool, we've gotten something. This is good. Unlike my other fucking story where I couldn't even eat. So I've gotten something inside.
Yeah.
Then speeches start.
Yeah.
Again, just pointing at the fact this shit happens.
And you would think this is like coincidence, but generally, when by the time it comes to us to eat, is usually when the guests have already kind of eaten, and we get given food like right at the end normally, right? Yeah. So imagine like you have like 45 minutes allocated for food, 35 minutes are already gone. Then we get our food, and then we started eating, which is why
I think there's a correct way that I had experienced. Not that it's a correct way, but it's a way that I side story where one of my bride and grooms were a vendor in their career, and so their entire ethos was going, "You guys eat first, because once you guys eat, then if anything goes like back on, then you guys are already on." I'm like, that's freaking genius. You can understand.
Also, another venue that I've shot, I don't shoot at this venue a lot, but I have shot here, and every time I've shot here, they've given us food before the guests, a Highline venue.
Oh, interesting. Shout out to them.
Shout out. But we don't, they have like a table there for vendors. Yeah. As soon as the dinner starts, our food is already waiting when they announce the dinner for people.
So not only this is on the couple, but then I think venues can take a step further. Okay, good to know.
Yeah. But anyways, back to the story.
Back to the story.
You get your food served.
Get my food served.
You're eating.
And then all we hear, because it's right outside, is the MC going, "Oh, guys, we have a speech by the father." All of us don't even react. We're just up because we're ready to go.
Get up and go, yeah.
So we get up and go, and then the speeches start. Now, mind you, our food's just still outside, and the table's is just sitting there. In fact, DJ's even come back in because now he's got to adjust the music level. So all of our food's outside. It's all on the table, and we can all see this like just a mess of stuff behind the couple, like outside from the window that's separating them.
Yeah.
And all I see is that our food is being demolished by birds.
Whoa, what?
Like, wait, not one. These motherfuckers are like coming in at like 5 at a time. It's like, you know when you go to the beach and seagulls are like, and they're like fucking like trying to get, or ibises, those motherfuckers are like they're trying to eat your food whilst you still have it. These fuckers saw an opportunity and they fucking went for it. So then by the time all of the staff went back inside, our food was literally being demolished by birds. It was some messed up shit. I was so triggered that day.
Imagine that. Imagine that. Like you're just inside doing your job, and the thing is, you can't even do anything about it. Like once a bird's been there, you don't even want to eat it again.
I was so sad. I was like, bro, like, someone's eating my food, and it's not even me. It's fucking birds. It's like, what the food does that? You know what I mean?
Holy shit!
I was so triggered that day.
Your dinner.
Yeah, I took photos of it for photo evidence. Did it make the final gallery? No.
Yeah,
but I took photos of it, and I think. I didn't do it, and I think one of my shooters did. It was funny because I kind of wanted them to. The bride and groom comes up to us like, "Oh, did you have anything to eat?" And my shooter's like, "Oh, we didn't, but these guys did." And then he turned the photo camera around and showed them a photo of birds fucking attacking our food. Yeah. It was bad, and the couples were like you could have seen their face. Yeah, it was some messed up shit. Yeah. This entire story could have just been avoided if there was a few things stepped in place, if there were a few things, few processes, few systems.
Surely the venue should know this though. You reckon this is the first time they've done this and this has happened the first time?
Yeah, you know why? Because no one in the, again, not that I say no one, but most people will go, hey, we have a capacity of 300. Maybe we should get the bigger ballroom.
Yeah.
Instead of going, actually, no, let's just fit everyone in the small room. I think
but then you know what? That's like a lot of venues have like 3, 4, 5 weddings happening at the same time. And usually, like, obviously, if you want to book the higher one, you got to pay way more as well, right?
I completely get.
Yeah.
Like, I will give.
I get it. They're trying to like
I will
go
give leeway.
budget wise, but at least all you can do is like just put that table inside instead of outside,
Yeah.
just in the corner somewhere. Even.
Yep. I will give leeway
Yeah,
here
yeah.
for stuff like that. That I can understand.
But
That.
bro, birds eating your
But
food.
bro,
is
that was a
fucking
whole
hilarious.
like different level of low.
Holy
I was
shit.
like, what the actual fuck?
So you've had bride eat your food.
I've had bride eat my
You've
food.
had bird eat
I've
your
had
food.
birds eat my food.
Yeah.
Both stories, I didn't get to eat my food.
Yeah.
Do you have any food stories?
Maybe I think they're a bit too messed up for this podcast. So maybe we'll talk about it on another one.
Another time.
Yeah, but that's funny, man.
That's some messed
so
up
funny.
shit. But
That's so funny.
there are probably some points where I think if you're a photographer, you could probably relate to. If you're a wedding couple and you disagree with some of these points, I'd be very curious to hear your thoughts, although I'd probably delete them.
I think I definitely want to hear from more like photographers out there, or just vendors in general, even DJs or anyone else. Do you guys think it's fair for couples to give you food if you're there for more than, let's say, 5 hours at an event? Or do you think we're just like being
We're
little,
being like pretentious little bitches?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Keen to hear it.
Well, if you guys enjoyed this segment, then like, comment any of your funny stories if you guys have had any, or email into us at thecameraman@gmail.com, and we will hopefully read your stories out and do a live react and re-continue this discussion because, as you can evidently see, I'm always triggered about this one topic.
Yeah.
But if you disagree, well, then let us know, but I really don't care.
Yeah. And also, if you guys like this, hit the like and subscribe button below, and we'll
see you in the
catch
next
you on the
video.
next one.